Hello fellow tankers, bonjour amis tankistes. In this video I will present you two hectic gameplays on the Swedish map. The first one in realistic battle and the second one in arcade in top BR. And what's interesting is that as you will see in these two games I will cap a total of 12 caps on this map. So be sure to watch both of them. They will be quite interesting and they will illustrate my many tutorial which I have reminded you in a recent video. So I'm just pointing here to the this recent video that I posted in English and in French, and just remind you that on this wide map my advice is to focus on B and C, and usually I'm starting on B, taking the main route, the central route to it, which is actually the most secure approach to B. So let's go to these two gameplays, and yeah, I gave you a spoiler. 12 caps total and a few kills to achieve that, obviously. So in this first gameplay, I'm playing my tier 4 French lineup at BR 7.3, starting with this Somua SM, and we are in a full up tier facing the Russians, the American and the British. That means that I am playing a tier 4 lineup and I will face a tier 6 Russian lineup with T-55s and T-62s. So, as I have mentioned in my main tutorial, I'm very often starting with me on this map. Let me accelerate a bit my approach. And I'm taking this central route, which I find safer. Let me remove the tags, because especially in RB there is enough protection to hide your approach. You note that my squad mate was immediately killed while trying to hide in this corner over there, which is my favorite capping position normally, meaning that there is an enemy which advances very fast on the left. I'm trying to peek. I don't see it yet. And that's a dreaded T-55. Fortunately, he shot me in my hull, which is a mistake when you meet the Somua. Try to shoot it in the turret. The hull has actually is pretty much empty. First, there is not much ammo and not much crew in it, but and the armor is actually pretty decent. So let me accelerate a bit. My first goal here is to clean B, and there is another T-55 here. That's the AMD. I break his gun and kill his gunner, and I'm struggling a bit to finish it, trying the lower plate. So right, it didn't work, so I'm going back for the gunner, which should be back, and indeed I'm killing this T-55. So as I have mentioned on different gameplays and my tutorial on this Swedish map, as I am reloading a bit my autoloader, let me accelerate. My advice is really on this map to navigate between B and C, and oh boy, you will see in these two gameplays, including in this RB gameplays, that I will do that a lot. Showing you that even in RB, by the way, you can have an active gameplay, including with an heavy tank like this Somua. So let me accelerate. It seems that my team did a good job to eliminate most enemy tanks on the cap. obviously, since the pace is a bit slower in RB, I will accelerate quite a lot this gameplay. And here I'm making a mistake. I really hate fighting on this side of the cap, on the east side of this C cap. I think it's pointless, and I should have essentially maybe try to flank these two tanks there by coming behind them instead of coming this way. But obviously, sometimes I'm doing stuff that I'm telling you not to do, and if I remember properly, I mentioned in my main tutorial to avoid shooting in this fighting in this area. So here there is another I don't know if it was a T-55 or a T-54 or even a T-62, but I was killed by taking this approach a bit naively. Obviously I thought that this tank was a bit fucked, pardon my French, which also explains why I rushed him. So I am respawning in my MX-50, which is at BR 7.3 in RB, 7.0 in arcade, tier 4 again. And I'm going back to B since we lost B. By the way, I was indeed killed by a T-54 in 1949. And I see T-44 on the cap, maybe a T-44 100 probably. And again, as you see, I'm coming from the main route, the central route. So from what my squad mate in the air told me, the T-44 left the cap. So I am capping and using this corner, which is my favorite corner, because you stay on the cap, whereas as you can see the cap is ending on the other side. So I like this corner, and I'm trying to see what this T-44 100 is doing. He's entering the cap and dies. And I'm capping my third zone, B. But I just escape the bombs. So as I have mentioned in my previous gameplay, it's very important to control the area between B and C. So that's where I'm going. So the reason I'm not going to A on this map is that the access to A from B and the access to B from A is extremely cumbersome, extremely slow, despite the fact that the distance between A and B seems to be the same as the distance between B and C, but it's much faster to go between B and C. And since you cannot be everywhere in the same time, so you will see that I will almost do that in this gameplay, my advice is to really focus on B and C. As I have mentioned in my previous gameplay, very often when people get A and B, very often they push to the enemy spawn, and that's what our team is doing there. And already two blue tanks on C died pushing, and the last one will die, so that you can expect that we will lose C very soon. But I came back to B because I saw some tanks flashing on the map. Remember that in RB the map is also, the mini-map is also very important. So ultimately this tank is, enemy tank has been killed. So in RB the mini-map is very important because obviously it helps you locate your allies. So it tells you where they are, but also where they are not. And here I see that probably this guy on C will need help, so I'm moving towards C. And remember also that on the minimap you can also see enemy tanks which have been hit by your team. And indeed, as predicted, and very similarly to my previous gameplay, I anticipate to go to C simply because I see that my team is not there because they committed suicide going to the enemy spawn. So I'm killing this BMP and I'm recapping C in a moment. Let me accelerate. And meanwhile, we are losing B, so that even in RB again, you see, you can have a very active gameplay, not stay just in the same place. And I'm moving back to B. And here you see really the interest to focusing on the two caps, which are the fastest to navigate in between. So here, unfortunately, I think I shot in the post, or anyway, I missed my first shot. But ultimately, I'm killing this ASU 85, which is a bit lost in a 8.3 battle. You see, it's a tank which could have easily killed me. And I'm coming back to B. You notice that I'm coming from the enemy side, something that I like to do in arcade, in RB, because very often people, especially in RB, will expect you to come from your side when attacking a cap. And here I'm hence using the enemy entrance. I heard you see a shot on my left and some shots on my right, and I have to admit that I was a bit confused. I thought that the enemy was the guy on my left previously. That was obviously a bit stupid. Obviously, sometime in the excitement of the game, you lose a bit of clairvoyance, but ultimately I'm capping B. But as you can see on the map, C is being uncapped, so I know where I'm going now after capping B. I'm following this marder and come back to C. You notice that again, when I came to C previously to kill this BMP, or now, I'm actually coming from the enemy side of C, which you can do from both sides, from the blue side and from the red side. So the enemy is capping A, but it's not a problem since we are capping C. And again, there are some tanks behind this building, and here I am tempted to go flank this tank, but I say, what the heck, I have already capped 5 caps. That would be fun to have 6 caps, so I'm coming back to the cap, and I am capping my 6 cap. And anyway, my teammates are getting rid of the sole enemy which was on the cap. At this point, the game is finished. I will not meet another enemy, but I hope that this game convinces you that you can have a very active gameplay in RB with a few kills, but quite astonishingly 6 kills, 6 caps, sorry, captured in a map where, again, I advise you to focus on B and C. So now let's move to another hectic gameplay, this time in arcade and in top BR, but with, as you will see, a very light vehicle. So I am now playing my BR 11 Swedish lineup, starting with this CV90 with a 120mm gun, a very fast vehicle. Yet, especially in arcade, I won't say this tank is really in the meta of the game because it has absolutely no armor. Although it has, again, extremely good mobility. and pretty good gun. At the time I was speeding this vehicle, and I have to admit that I have abused of the April boxes that you could buy with the key for 60,000 Silver Lion, and I actually wasted 300 million Silver Lion. I'm down to 95 millions now from more than 400 millions, but that allowed me to play with a lot of RP booster for an entire month, which allowed me to spade and grind a lot of tanks, and I'm happy to say that I have now all the tanks in the game except for 3 Israeli tank. So let's go back to the gameplay. So we are playing during the night, as you can see, but I think you'll be able to see what's happening. And after capping B without opposition, I'm coming to C again from the enemy side and kill the single enemy tank which was on the cap. Sorry, I didn't put my personal view, so obviously you didn't see me going in gunner view. So here, as you can see, my team is pushing the enemy spawn. I say, what the heck? What am I doing? Especially since we are losing B, so I'm saying I'm going back to B. And I'm a bit lost. There is a dead hand here. So actually this gameplay is also a nice opportunity for people starting the game and who didn't have yet IBR tanks with night vision to see a bit the experience that you get in the game. So here using infrared vision in third person view. And as you will see, sometimes also using thermal vision in gunner view. I'm wrecking this Leopard and I'm going back to B. So obviously this vehicle has main interest also in RB is that it's extremely fast, and again, despite the fact that it has absolutely no armor, you can explode that to relocate very fast. And since we are in arcade, where the tanks are faster than in RB, and also that I have a very fast tank even for arcade, I decide that to go to 2A, since B and C seems to be well controlled. And as you will see, the approach to A is much more complicated. You have to change direction much more often, and it's actually more dangerous because since there are more corners, there is obviously more positions where you can be ambushed by enemies. So really, again, I really advise you to concentrate on B and C. You notice that once again, and that's really a principle that I really advise you to follow, I'm coming to A from the enemy side, but A seems to be empty. So I'm capping without opposition. Let me accelerate a bit. But while I'm being on A, the situation is deteriorating since we will lose the B, and unfortunately I've been wrecked by this TAM, which is killed by one of my allies. But I think there will be more tank coming, and ultimately I'm killed by this Type 90. So since I was spending this tank this time, I decided to take a universal backup, free backup, that you could also get in the chest. I got something like 1,000 of them, which is actually pretty useful to put on either on your very best tanks to take a backup in very difficult battles, or to put on a tank that you would spade in order to maximize the efficiency, the grinding efficiency in battle. And also for people taking only 1 or 2 tanks in battle, my advice is put backups, for instance, on your premium tanks instead of bailing and leaving the battle after 1 tank, which is simply not playing the game, I'm sorry to say. And I'm killing this tank which was on B, near B, and who just capped B, and I'm capping B. Let me accelerate, but meanwhile we are losing C. So you see, very similarly, again, my tutorials are really equally applied to AB and RB. Here you see my thermal view, which very often I disable in arcade because honestly it doesn't help, but obviously it's very useful in RB since you can perfectly see tanks, especially at large distance. So again, as you can see, I'm essentially playing the same way in arcade and in RB. Focusing on B and C, coming from the enemy side, and exploiting the fact that again the route between B and C is much faster than the route between A and B that I showed you briefly with my previous tank. So I'm killing the tanks on C and capping C. Let me accelerate. At this point the battle is almost finished, so now we have the 3 caps, and there is absolutely no shame to push the enemy spawn. As I like to say, at the end of World War II, Nazi Germany was spawn camped by the enemy, but only after the main objective were secured, and I'm pushing, trying to rack a last kill, but unfortunately I didn't see this tank on my left, but which will not have the time to kill me. I will survive indeed until the end of the battle. So I thank you for watching. So as you can see, again 6 kills in these 2 hectic gameplays, where I hope that I convince you that in AB or in RB, adopting a very active gameplay helps your team to win, and to be fair is also much more fun. So I thank you in advance for supporting this channel, as always, by firing a few likes to the video that you enjoy, hopefully this one. And for those who are not yet subscribed, well, you know what you are left to do. See you on the battlefield. À bientôt sur le champ de bataille.